What is this?
What kind of bombarded you?
All right.
Oh, this is so bad.
Okay, so we're way ahead of schedule. Is this what you expected?
We just didn't want to do it in front of you guys. So we got in, said, "Where's Fox?" And we said, "We got to get out." No, we are ahead of schedule, but not really. I mean, if you really looked at the facts in the case and the details that were in it, it was pretty clear that there was going to be a very short case.
How do you feel about the state, the witnesses that they've brought forward so far, and how you've been questioning them?
How I've been questioning them? I don't know.
How would you rate your performance?
Out of 10, maybe a 2.5.
Why do you think that?
Because there's always room for improvement. I don't know. That's a horrible question. I can't give you an answer to that. I always think I could do better. Let's put it that way.
Has Mr. Davis decided whether he'll testify?
He was advised today of the court as to his right to testify, and so the court's given him time to think about it. And so he has until the time that we rest our case in chief to make that decision.
Has he told you if he wanted to?
And at this particular point, I think that's a question I can't answer because it's attorney-client privilege. But as of right now, he's contemplating that decision. So,
If he chooses not to testify, do you think that could be a problem because what the jury will be left with is his words confessing to this multiple times and there's nothing from his own mouth to rebut that?
Confessing, boasting, promoting a book. I mean, the clips you heard today was him promoting his book and not being comfortable or familiar with the facts that was asked of him. So, I mean, I don't know. You say confession, you say potato, you say potato. It's like, once again, if you and I were dating, I'm not quite clear if I came home late with, lipstick on my collar, that I'd call it the truth and you'd be like, no, you're lying to me. So there's a lot of this stuff that I think on some level, what we say and what we do are two completely different things. And so in this particular case, it's not like, how much you love me, it's show me that you love me. And in this case, they haven't shown anything to indicate that. You hear a lot of words, but you don't hear anything that says, here's the evidence, here's the thing.
How has he felt throughout this whole trial? I remember last Monday you said he got rid of the first day jitters, but we're now almost 2 weeks in.
I think he's in good spirits. He's been paying attention, and every once in a while he'll have a note or two, something that he's observed. So I think he's been doing the right thing.
When he's addressed the court a couple of times, he sounds frustrated.
He is frustrated. He's frustrated more about the fact that there's been addresses given in the media about his family, which are typical things that you sort of redact and keep away. And even though it's 30 years ago, his family still lives in those addresses. So as a result, there's always been a lot of concern of people either going over to the addresses and doing things. So he was always concerned.
Do you think his previous attorneys during the proffer and even during the Vlad TV interviews and other paid interviews failed him?
That's a tough question. So I took this on pro bono, right? Which means I don't have any other cases. So attorneys will manage cases as they go along, and as cases are starting to get closer to the trial, they'll prepare. And the problem is, though, when you're doing it pro bono, you're not getting paid, which means your office is not getting paid, which means how do you keep the lights on in the office if you're doing a 5 or 6 week trial like what the state had said. We've been blessed enough at our firm, since we do a boutique injury firm, that we've been very successful at it, and I have 2 amazing partners. And so as a result, I can, do this frolic, go out there and try this case without having to worry about paying the bills for the 5 or 6 weeks or whatever it would take.
But would you have let him do the paid interviews? Would you let him have done the proffer previously?
Oh, you mean you mean those guys?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's some other things going on underfoot there. I think those other attorneys had motive to push him and to cajole him and to get him in position to say those words, whether it was for financial reasons. Mr. Higgins was not a very good person from what I understand, and so there's all kinds of reasons as to why they would sort of push Keffe in a position to go through this.
Is somebody going to testify to that on the stand?
No, I'm not going to do that. No one's going to testify to that because that's sort of outside of the scope of what we're trying to do here, and that is, does the state have enough evidence, like real factual evidence, to prove that Duane Davis was even in Las Vegas? And the answer as of right now is no.
Michael, you've heard the phrase.
What witnesses do you plan on calling, and what's the goal?
So tomorrow's just to kind of clean up the state's case. So there's a couple of things that they did not do. They didn't call Detective Long, who's the second detective after Detective Becker. Obviously, they're not going to call Detective Mogg. He is nowhere to, he's not coming forward. And so we're also calling two Metropolitan police officers that were present in 1996 to clean up another issue. And then outside of that, we're done.
Michael, you've heard the phrase, man's word is his bond. Should a man's own word be enough to convict him?
So there was a movie called Jerry Maguire, and in that movie there's a guy who shakes the hand of Jerry Maguire and says, "My word is my bond," and then he screws him right after. So in essence, we live in a world today that if you don't write it down on a piece of paper and attests something to be true and correct to the best of your knowledge, then it's just the word.
But it's not exactly what he did with his book, and then he testified to the veracity of it multiple times in public interviews.
I don't think he did. You might want to double check that.
So are you saying that his word isn't worth the paper it's written on, even now today?
What?
Are you saying that his word is not worth the paper that it's written on, even today?
I think anyone's word is not worth the paper that it's written on until such time as it's proven to be true.
The prosecution witness this afternoon was talking about your client, in his opinion, mouthing words at Reggie Wright Jr. Do you know what your client was doing at that point?
I think he just hates him.
Do you know what he was saying?
Don't know for sure, but whatever it is, it's not what I think the media thinks it is.
Did he tell you his feelings about Reggie Wright Jr.
I have my own feelings about Reggie Wright Jr. and I think a lot of people do. And in this particular regard, I think no one can. If you know the story of Reggie Wright Jr., you can't sit there and be happy that he's there. You would think in your mind that this guy is not a nice person.
There's been a public statement from Suge Knight saying that your team had offered him $1 million. Do you want to respond to that?
I'm doing this pro bono, man. I don't know what to tell you. Sure, I threw my own money into it as well. No. He's declined interviews with me. He did have an interview with the state. He did sit down with them and talk with them for 2.5 hours. But when the defense came along and said, "Hey, we'd like to sit down with you and find out from you some more information," he told me to go pound sand. So the answer is, I don't know what he's talking about.
So Suge Knight did speak with the state for 2.5 hours.
They spoke with Detective Mogg, maybe Investigator Mogg at that point, but they did, yes.
Do you know what year that was?
A while ago, right?
Do you know when?
I don't know. I can't remember for sure.
Do you know what he told Mogg?
Stuff.
Can you tell us what he told Mogg?
I mean, well, nothing that came out during the course of the trial because it's nothing that the state decided to show. Now, whether or not, like I said, this is all stuff that I'm hoping the jury's not understanding this, but at the end of the day, it's the stuff that's in court is really the stuff that we have. They chose not to provide Suge Knight.
Do you expect a long deliberation?
No, I don't.
Suge Knight was on the witness list. Were you surprised they haven't brought him in?
They put 200 people on that list. I was waiting for Mayor Goodman to show up. I was waiting for David Chesnoff to show up because they put him on the list. So in terms of the surprise, I don't know what to tell you. I was surprised that the list was 200 people long and that it included people like Mayor Goodman and David Chesnoff. What's the point in that?
Grand jury testimony seemed to focus on Mr. Davis's book quite a bit, and we didn't really hear too many portions of that being read into the record. Why do you think that is?
It's because it's. I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't read it because there's nothing in it that is corroborated. So, in terms of the book itself, the jury will have a copy of it. They can read it for themselves.
Can you confirm for the reporters that are asking, is it Keefe? What's the right name?
And the spelling.
That's a point that I can't get into right now.
As long as we don't have to issue corrections for the spelling of his name, that'd be great.
Okay, as long as it's not about so just don't throw that out there.
And Michael,
Block
one
that
final
out.
question. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, nice, Ben.
It's The Notebook. See what I just did there?
Remember what it was about.
Yes, exactly.